Hello and welcome to another episode of Developing Roots in Community Real Estate, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate development and its impact on the communities we live in. I'm your host, Jessica Washington. This is my co-host, Ernest Williams. And in this next episode, we're going to embark on another exciting journey that explores the intersection of bricks and mortar, people, and places.
Thank you, Jessica. As always, happy to be here on this journey with you. Real estate development isn't just about erecting buildings, it's about crafting communities. It's about designing spaces that breathe life into neighborhoods, fostering connection, and leaving a legacy for generations to come. In each episode, we'll bring you insightful interviews, expert insights, and inspiring stories from the front lines of real estate development in the DC area.
So whether you're a seasoned developer, an aspiring urban planner, or simply someone who cares about the places that they call home, this podcast is your window into the dynamic world of community transformation. Together, we'll uncover the challenges, innovations, and triumphs that shape our cities and towns.
Before we bring on our guests, we wanted to give a big thanks to our sponsor, Capital Impact Partners, who are part of the Momentous Capital family. Capital Impact Partners is a community development financial institution, or CDFI, that engages in community development, real estate lending, and training and mentorship programs. So now we are bringing on our guest, Ayesha Hudson, founder and CEO of A-Piece.
All right, Miss Ayesha, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So this show is all about real estate, but before we get to that, can you tell us about some of your personal or professional experiences prior to getting into real estate that were really impactful for you?
Sure. Prior to real estate, I would say my public service career, which began in February of 1997, that has been the most impactful things that has happened because it has opened up other doors. I've seen so many things as a first responder, life-changing things, and I've also helped on some impactful scenes as well. So that was really impactful and has shaped a lot of how I operate in the community. So
transitioning into real estate, tell us about how you acquired your first property.
Sure. I purchased my first 4-unit in November of 1999. It was working with my now mentor. He owned the building that I ended up buying. He owned the one right next door, and he was one of the main encouragers to move into one of the units, live there, and then rent out the others. And so I did. At that point, I was already working on the fire department, so I was running calls in the neighborhood where I live, and in the surrounding neighborhoods. So it was home. It was comfortable. I was familiar, and I knew that I was helping. I saw what was going on around me even then, and it felt good to help. And then also, that's when I became a housing provider. And so I understood early on the value in being able to rent out the other units, cover the mortgage, and then I had more income to do other things, to continue on purchasing buildings, really. Back then, prices were different. And so timing and action and motivation kind of met each other at the, best time for me.
Okay. So I feel like when we introduced you, we didn't do you justice, but Miss Ayesha is a dynamo in real estate. She is a landlord of how many units now?
26.
26 units in the portfolio. She manages all her properties herself, and then she's also a real estate developer. So with that being said, you have a kind of unique approach to property management and a unique tenant base that you like to specialize in. So can you just tell us about that, and how has it been working with the local government agencies in DC?
Yes. So since I have operated as a housing provider, I've always rented to people who lived in the community already. My first 2 residents were Miss Laura and her mother, who lived on the first floor of the building for many years before I got there, and then also stayed while I was there. Miss Laura and her mom, they were on fixed income income. And so I forget what the rent was, but it was a fraction of what we call affordable today. And so that warmed my heart, the fact that they still lived in the building together. It felt very comfortable for me coming home. I worked for the fire service, so our hours tended to be a little odd at times. And so it felt like community. And then from there, I just kept renting to people in the community right around, I think maybe 07, 06 is when I got into serving the homeless population. And so there were shelters closing around DC. And I remember going to lease ups where it might be 4 or 5 people across the table from me, and we were doing all of their leases for the first time. And so I ended up meeting case managers. I ended up being more involved in that world of homelessness prevention, mental health organizations and things like that I would then get calls. Right. Hey, we have somebody we're working with. Do you have anything? So I understood the need. So as I kept growing the portfolio, that was my natural market, right. My natural, folks that I wanted to serve and have continued to serve.
Okay. Very good. So that's about your landlord and your property management activities. Tell us about your development projects, some of the things you're working on currently, where they located, number of units, how you're financing them, and any programming that you use to incorporate with dealing with your residents.
Sure. 2 projects under construction right now. One is a 9-unit ground up multifamily building in Anacostia. We're at the mouth of Anacostia Park. This building was a house on this site that I bought from my cousin in June of 2018. Initially, we were just going to add it to our portfolio, keep renting. As I became more knowledgeable about the space around the house, the land, it was a larger than normal lot on this block. The education about that met with during COVID when we were slowed down, right. And we had the opportunity to recognize a lot of things that were going on around us. And during those times, my husband and our conversations were moving toward, okay, what can we do differently? Right. We had participated in the housing sector in a way that it was beneficial for both sides, our residents and us. But to watch what was going on around us, we got a little uncomfortable and wanted to participate differently. So as we started talking about what that looked like, we wanted to create programming. So in the 9-unit that's under construction right now in Anacostia, we also have incorporated a wellness center where we're going to offer on-site resident education. We are developing the program. We have a very specific target market that we're looking at. We have some creative partnerships that we're considering. And so we're building that program, and we actually want it to be from apartment ownership to home ownership. Right. And so we had the opportunity to work on my grandparents' land when we were in another real estate program that has also gotten me to this point, right? We're going to use that land to then transition them into home ownership. So we're going to build something that they can actually purchase. While they're in the housing with us at our new construction project, that's where the education is going to happen. So we're excited to be able to deliver something that will be lasting for the person. And then if it's lasting for the person, it'll be lasting for the community. And so we're building it. We're building it right now. Programs. So my initial education was with the Equitable Development Initiative through Capital Impact Partners. That started in November of 2021. We were a part of the 3rd cohort. Great foundation, a great intro to commercial real estate for me. Once that ended, I then rolled into the program that I just completed in October of this year, and that is the Housing Equity Accelerator Fellowship. Right. And so that program, the mentorship, the technical assistance, the grant funding has really accelerated not just the projects, but also my growth, right? It's put me in certain communities communities of people, government workers, other developers, other professionals that are required to bring a development project together. So the access to all of that, it has culminated in where we are, right? So the 9 units under construction, our 4 unit that has been in our portfolio since '02 is also under remodeling. So we're adding a second bedroom to each unit. We're going to end up with 4 2-bedroom units. We're adding solar panels and all the bells and whistles, washer and dryer, the things that my residents, over the course of our being a housing provider, haven't been able to really enjoy. So now to bring new housing to market, and rent to those of us that may not have necessarily been able to get it prior, that is a really good feeling. So programs, progress, and then partnerships. So funding has come from DC Green Bank. They have been a phenomenal banking partner. They saw me where I was, took the journey with me, and we're here today. Things are going well. We are, I would say, maybe 50% complete. Our team is now working indoors. We're halfway through the HVAC work with the anticipated delivery of April of 2024. And so DC Green Bank has been just phenomenal through this. And then the other funder is Capital Impact Partners and Amazon, which they partnered to bring us the Housing Equity Accelerator Fellowship. And so they gave a generous grant amount, very generous, to make the project work. Because we all know how challenging it can be to build something at a particular price, right, but none of us can afford to pay that back, alone. We have to get creative in how we put together our loan packaging, our programming, and all of that. So, for us to be at this point, it's exciting. Yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing.
So that was great that you gave us a nice overview of the Equitable Development Initiative and the Housing Equity Accelerator Fellowship programs, both with Capital Impact Partners, which is our sponsor for this podcast. So since you gave us an overview, can you tell us maybe 1 or 2 experiences within those 2 programs that were kind of really impactful for your real estate development journey?
Sure. Starting with EDI, what we call the Equitable Development Initiative for short, that experience, as Jessica very well knows, as my fellow teammate, was an eye-opener. It was encouraging, but it was also a bit complicated, challenging. The learning curve was real. Doing it as a team, the way that we came together and mobilized, having just met one another, and to really create a project that I'm very proud of to this day. I talk about the efforts that we took in talking to the community. Our other teammate, Ashley, created a survey where we were asking the community what they wanted. We spoke in front of, associations and government folks, and it really introduced us to the world of development in a way that it helped us to understand that we could do it, especially together, right? Like for us to come together as quickly as we did and put together something that, when we presented, there were many people that believed in it, right? To be able to do that in that short period of time, it is a reminder, like, we can do anything together,
Absolutely.
know? So that was the most impactful with EDI. And then just the experiences along the way, understanding the different roadblocks that all of us kind of have, no matter what your role is, whether you're a provider, developer, architect, there's some type of roadblock, especially when it comes to housing people that make low wages. And so understanding the power of partnering and the need for teams became really apparent to me then. and has really reshaped the way that I engage the development process. The Housing Equity Accelerator Fellowship, with that one, because it was a bit more intimate, we had one-on-one mentors. We were able to go on tours of the different sites and things like that. That one felt more hands-on in the sense of you knew you had graduated to a point. I knew that I had gotten to a point where I understood some things and I was ready for more. Right. And so that was a really grow up, moment for me, aha, and a confidence boost, all of that. And so it has helped me to understand my role in my bigger role in the larger community, right? So I've been in the housing community as a housing provider. The Housing Equity Accelerator Fellowship has allowed the level of access where now the political pieces of how we got here and how we're going to unravel our housing challenges are really interesting to me. And so having the credibility of being the first cohort, Ernest, my other learning partner, we're the first cohort, right? And so to me, that message says we are the change makers, right? Absolutely. Those of us that our peers, most especially, say, you're on to something. And so it's a stroke of a lot of things for me. Most importantly, it's having more confidence that we have the tools that we need to build the communities the way that we want to see it, through better communication and some other things. I feel like we're going in the right direction.
Very good. Very powerful. All right. Housing provider, developer, all-around community advocate. Outside of real estate, what are some causes and initiatives you're involved with?
Sure. Right now, I'm really excited to be a participant in the Babson College's Black Women's Entrepreneurship Leadership Program. Mm-hmm. We are in our last season of this program, where we have learned more of the government contracting side of small business, how to do a capability statement. We've had people to come on and talk with us about budgeting and things like that. So it's a little bit of real estate business, but the leadership piece is what caught my attention, and the sisterhood piece is what was really attractive to me too. So I feel like it's helping me to become a better leader, and then that'll open up a lot of other things, right? When we are inspired and confident enough to go forward with ideas and then able to bring people with us, that's a powerful thing. So it's helping to build my leadership. So that's something that I'm really proud of. We're going to Tulsa, Oklahoma for 4 days, and we're going to explore the things that have happened in our culture there, and a lot of what they're doing now. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, that is exposing me to the history, the political implications, and all those things that directly affect housing. So that's one. Urban farming is something that I have really been enjoying with my husband, Eric. Yeah, so we have been growing food, learning different strategies on everything from composting to how you build on a hill, right? He built something to be able to allow the water to flow down correctly. We didn't have to buy tomatoes this past season, right? Because we grew all the tomatoes that we ate. So that has been really exciting. And then always travel. I love traveling whenever, however.
How many people are in the Women's Leadership Initiative you're in?
There are less than 20.
Oh, so it's really
more
intimate.
than 10. Yes. Okay. Yes. And this program has been going on for a number of years now. Dr. Shakina Williams, she put it together, and it has a sisterhood feel to it, as well as, I think, wellness. She begins each class with an African proverb, and then we always start with wins. Like who's had a win? Let's share. We're in this together kind of mentality. So I've really been enjoying that.
Yes, awesome. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here, but any last words of wisdom for any aspiring real estate developers, and especially because this industry is not as many of us, but we're coming up, especially for women and women of color.
Do it now. Go for it. Yeah, don't let fear make all the decisions. Yeah. And learn. Never stop learning. Be curious.
Sure.
Beautiful.
All right, Ernest, any more thoughts?
This has been wonderful. It's been great interviewing you and hearing all that you're doing in the community. And it's great to see your path, and you definitely are in line to be very successful. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And you already know my sister, we came up in the EDI program together. So I'm just blown away by all the progress that you've made in such a short time, and all the just awesome things that you're working on, and all the success you're having. So much, much more.
Indeed. And likewise to you both. I have learned beside both of you. Both of you have taught me things like calling Ernest. We were trying to put in our first, RFP response. And so what a pleasure it is to sit amongst you all and to talk about our progress, because you all undoubtedly are a part of it. My husband is here, the community of us is feeling really good. So equally as proud of y'all, and excited to see what's next.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you, Ayesha Hudson, for coming on our show. Really inspiring story. Just, exciting, all the things that you're having, working on right now. And obviously we're going to keeping on with your journey. So appreciate that. I'm your host, Jessica Washington, and this is my co-host, Ernest Williams. This is another great episode of Developing Roots in Community Real Estate, brought to you by Capital Impact Partners. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.